What if the most powerful element in your edit wasn't the dialogue line? It wasn't the shot, the pacing, or the music. It was the way the character's eyes darted quickly left and right at that key moment. Or the sharp intake of breath after they heard some stressful news. Or the way they nervously stroked their neck while listening to someone. The silent, involuntary language our bodies speak is often louder than any line of dialogue. And these tiny behavioral moments can truly make a scene. So in this episode, I'm going to permanently change how you look at your raw footage. I'm going to break down the psychology of body language in editing. I'm going to tell you how to recognize it in your footage and how to shape it on your timeline so that your scenes have that high-end dramatic feel. My name's Paddy Bird, and this is Inside the Edit. No software, no shortcuts, just the art of editing. When you're learning high-end editing, there's a definite structure to what you need to learn and when. The first step on the ladder is what I call the fundamental mechanics. Now, these are basic skills that make a sequence look like a sequence and not some big jumbled mess on the timeline with no visual grammar. They are made up of the dialogue arc structure, B-roll placement, shot flow, and basic pacing. Now, these initial skills are absolutely essential. If we were to take tennis as an analogy, these would be the forehand, the backhand, the volley, and serving. If we can't do these basic shots, we can't play tennis. But after you've mastered these fundamental mechanics and your scenes and sequences begin to look like they, have some visual grammar and the polished look of something you'd find on television or in the cinema, then a new and deeper layer presents itself. Body language. Most editors stop after the mechanics phase. Either their daily work doesn't demand more depth, or they simply don't realize how much more there is to learn to truly master the craft. But if you want to rise to the highest levels of editing, you need to start asking deeper questions. And here's one of them. What are scenes truly made up of? Well, of course, it's many things. Story, excitement, jeopardy, tension, stylization, context, backstory, subtext. But there's one huge element that editors often look: behavior. Now, as editors, one of our jobs is to decode behavior. It's to select or remove specific traits or actions in our characters. It's also our job to shape that behavior into a narrative arc that reinforces the intention of any scene. A scene is a designed structure of human behavior over time. One of the first rules in behavioral psychology is that you don't listen to what people say. You study their actions to discover their intent and true inner state. This may sound complicated, but it's not. We're all behavioral experts, whether we realize it or not. Let me prove it to you. How many times have you called a friend, your partner, a family member, and within 5 seconds, you could tell if they were tired or excited or depressed or anxious or angry? You haven't even seen their face yet. And how many times have you walked towards someone and just from their body language, 20 feet away, you knew their emotional state? Exactly. You're already brilliant at decoding body language, voice tonality, and emotion. We just need to harness it and channel it into editing. So let's talk about the brain. Contrary to popular belief, we don't have one brain, we have 3. According to neuroscientist Paul MacLean's triune brain theory, our brain is split into 3 distinct layers. First, there's the reptilian brain, which is the oldest brain. It's controls things like survival and fight or flight. It reacts without thinking, and in editing, it picks up threats, tension, and unease, even when the audience can't articulate why. The reptilian brain is the reason we all get terrified about that well-made horror movie, even though we know that's not real blood, but red syrup coming out of those teenagers in that cabin in the woods. Secondly, there's the neocortex. Now, this is the newest part of the brain. It controls language, logic, decision-making, and abstract thought. It designs cathedrals and composes concertos. It's rational but slower than the reptilian brain. And then there's the limbic brain, or what is often called the emotional brain. Now, this is the brain we as editors really need to be interested in. This controls things like emotions, bonding, memory, feeling, and non-verbal communication. It's responsible for empathy, fear, love, and trust. And it reads body language and tone more than words. In editing, this is the brain we're truly cutting for when shaping performance and emotional flow. Now, if you watch this far, you're probably the kind of serious filmmaker who wants to go beyond the usual editing software tutorials. You want to learn how to actually edit. If you're here to think deeper, cut smarter, and build real creative skills like high-end professionals, then our Inside the Edit app is packed with exclusive free content, creative tips, and inspiration. You can download it now on the App Store. It's our job to decide what the audience believes based on a simple psychological equation. When a character's words, neocortex, doesn't match their body language, limbic system, the viewer's reptilian brain detects the mismatch and labels it as inauthentic. That's why sometimes when we cut a performance from someone and it can feel emotionally wrong or awkward. It's why we need to cut based on what the body language is saying and not just what the dialogue says. Now let's take this even further. If we've worked out what our scene is about, we can position subtle psychological behavior or voice tonality into the scene, which will then trigger the exact emotional response we want from our viewers. A nervous smile just at a specific moment, an arrogant glance just before a dramatic event, a confident-looking character letting out a huge gulp before stepping out on stage, a moment of frozen silence and a clenched jaw, a character exploding into a frantic speech in an awkward lull. Now, these are just a few of the millions of human reactions available to us as editors. The key is that we're not just observing them, we're placing them with intention. We're designing emotional rhythm. Most people don't consciously notice these moments, but their limbic brain and nervous system does. Any one of these could be valid at a certain point in a scene if we dive into the psychology of what's going on and why. Will it match the music, the cinematography, the pacing, the subtext? Will it feel like the truth that you and the director are trying to create? This is our job as high-end editors. We're not just cutting the shots together and making it look good and cool and stylized. We're sculpting psychological and behavioral authenticity. We want the body to betray the character's soul in just the right way. So here's your exercise. Next time you're in a coffee shop, standing in line in the supermarket, you're in a bar, you're waiting for a bus, wherever there's people interacting, put on your headphones and just watch. Look out for things like the power dynamics in relationships, people's energy levels, eye contact, subtle glances, posture, hand gestures. Look for what is being said without being said. Imagine these people are characters on your timeline. This is how we sharpen our behavioral awareness. Study it in the wild. Watch how people move when they're in love, when they're stressed, when they're ashamed, when they're betrayed, humiliated, empowered. Study your friends, study your family, study strangers, study politicians, study liars, and then study the characters in your own raw footage. Train your eye to detect authenticity, then sharpen your blade and cut accordingly. Thanks for watching.